Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. Today I'll be discussing some feedback that I have been collecting for quite a while now. I'm going to start off with stuff that I got from episode 100 on through the latest episode. So I haven't done one of these in a long time. I can't remember the episode number from the last time I did it, but there have been quite a few episodes in between that one and this one. And I know that I have misplaced or forgotten feedback that I've received from listeners and video watchers, and I'll explain that in a minute, as well as via Twitter and email and stuff. I should rephrase that. I think I got everything from email. Definitely, because those are easy to find. It's the stuff that I got from the feedback that I got from Twitter and other places that maybe I have missed. So I want to first of all apologize to anyone who has sent me feedback and who is not represented here. But I truly appreciate any feedback that I get about the podcast. About the videos that I do on YouTube, as well as any pictures I post on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter. Doesn't matter what I'm putting out there, as long as someone is liking it and commenting on it. I think that's a really cool thing. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has done that. And and on iTunes, the iTunes reviews, I got a couple of those since the last time I talked about it. I think I talked about some of these things on episode 100. So there's a few more things to throw your way to talk about and show my appreciation for everybody who has given me some comments. So, like I said, if you happen to be listening to this and you're new to the show, welcome. This is a comic book appreciation show. That's probably the best way to put it, where I talk about comics, things I like, maybe some things that I'm a little critical of, but it's all celebrating my love of the medium and sometimes specific comics. But I also not only do an audio podcast that you can download from iTunes and other fine podcatchers. Personally, I use Pocket Casts, the app on my iPhone. But I know there's a lot of other ways to consume podcasts. For example, the Longbox Review podcast is a member of the Comics Podcast Network. It's a website that is, if you go to comicspodcastnetwork.com, I believe is the URL. Don't believe anything I say as far as addresses and stuff, but the information will be correct in the show notes if you check those, because my memory's bad and I don't have my computer on to check these things as I'm recording this. And you can also find the show on Stitcher and a few other places as well. I think I list everything on the website if you click the about, or is it feedback? I always get that mixed up, but I think it's feedback. If you go to longboxreview.com and click the feedback tab, then you'll find all this information there. Anyway, so like I said, I mentioned videos. I also do a few videos every once in a while. On YouTube you just go to youtube.com/ I think Longbox Review and you'll see the videos. Now, my podcast host, Libsyn, shortly after episode 100 started posting my audio podcasts to YouTube. And so all it does is show my my logo, but it does give you the audio that I released through Libsyn. So I got a lot of comments from people who consume their comics related entertainment. If I may categorize my podcast that way, but I get a lot of comments from those folks who quote unquote watch, or I should say air quotes, watch my videos. But there's a few other videos that I have released where I'm actually showing video, and I've included the feedback I got from those here as well. In part, like I said, because a lot of these people that whose comments I'm going to read here and comment on will be listening to this episode possibly on YouTube. So without any further ado, let's get right to it. I have feedback starting with episode 100. Just a few things. This is from Damien. If you have been listening to the show for a while, Damien has joined me several times on the podcast. We talked a lot about Danger Club that one time, which was one of the most fun podcasting experiences I've had. Anyway, he said in regards to episode 100, I like your advice to the comic book companies. Telling stories is, after all, the core of comics, so that should be treasured by the editorial powers that be. Events can be good stories, but they need to be organic and not interrupting all the other organically growing stories, which is inherently tricky. And that of course, Damien sums it up very well. I totally agree with what he said. I do think, unlike some of my friends out there who think that the events are of the devil, comic book events are the devil. But I think in some cases they can be really good. They can help invigorate the line. They can bring in new readers potentially, and they can excite those of us who are longtime readers as well. I'm thinking specifically of Blackest Night from DC. The more recent Secret Wars from Marvel. Just both of those series got me really jazzed about DC and Marvel books, and what came out of those events. So now that's not to say that they didn't quickly squander that goodwill, but at the time, I thought those two events in particular, I at least really enjoyed and thought they were pretty good. Also for episode 100, James from Twitter, whom I've had several conversations, real quick conversations over Twitter. He does a blog. It is called A Comic Book Addict, and this is a Blogspot blog. He's out of the UK, and he does some really good articles on his blog, so you should check it out. And I'll have the link in the show notes. But James said regarding episode 100, what a terrific episode. Enjoyed every minute of it. To which I say to James and others who listen to episode 100, good on you, because that episode was over 4 hours. And I know I broke so many rules, or at least the big one, about the length of an episode, but it was a big event for me, and I just decided to throw caution to the winds and release a 4-hour episode all at once. I likely will never do that again, although we'll see. Anyway, moving on to episode 101, which was my thoughts on Heroes Con from 2016 that I attended. It was the first major con that I went to by myself. I've been to several cons over the years, or at least a few cons, I should say, but Emerald City Comic-Con and Rose City Comic-Con are the two primary ones that I go to. I've been to the formerly known as Spokane Comic-Con, which is now, I believe, called the Lilac City Comic-Con, but I haven't been to that in a few years. It's really just a small show. They're growing every year though, so that's good. And when they have a time that they've chosen for their con that I can actually attend, I'll be going back. I was hoping to go back this year for the 2017 show, but I'm not going to be around when that's on. So anyway, but in regards to HeroesCon, which was a fantastic convention, and if you ever have a chance to go to North Carolina for HeroesCon, I heartily recommend it. And this is a comment from YouTube from Sergeant America. So you should check out Sergeant America's YouTube channel. He said it sounds like a blast, referring to the con. I like hearing about pros and cons of a con. Thought that was cute. Everyone goes to it with a different focus. Nice to hear yours, which I appreciate. Thank you, Sergeant. The next one is a video I did where I called it Curious About Drawer Boxes. So I decided to do a couple videos talking about the drawer boxes that I use at home to store my comics. And if you're not familiar with these, go watch the video. But no, they're like long boxes. Only the boxes are in these cardboard sleeves, so that they're like pulling them in and out like a drawer. And they're really nice. You can stack them. They say you can stack them like 6 high. I've got mine now on the 5th box stacked up, and that's too high. I don't like it. I mean, it works. It's fine. Everything's good, but it's just too high. I need to step up on something to be able to easily get to the comics. But that's not true. But it's pretty close. So anyway, I did a video on that where I did a comparison, like I said, between a long box and a drawer box. And so Sergeant America again, and a lot of these folks are repeat commenters, so you're gonna hear these names over and over. So Sergeant said, "So are you changing your handle to Drawer Box Reviews?" Big smiley face. I thought that was really cool. Great video. This adds to the info I needed to figure out if I want to switch to these. And I was actually quite surprised at some of these comments that I got about the drawer box videos, because I've been using them for years. My friend Travis uses them. I know others use them, but I guess I didn't quite understand that how unknown maybe they are. Most people are familiar with long boxes or even short boxes with the top lids that you put on them, but apparently drawer boxes are either you're just not familiar with them, or you know about them, but you're like, I don't know, do I really want to use these? And I love them. They've been great. I particularly like these rails you can put inside, and then you can put in these little slats that you can shorten the length of the drawer box, so that if you don't quite have enough to fill up one box, you can put these slats in, and your comics are still held up nice and straight, and it works out really good. Anyway, Damien back again with a comment. Thanks for making this video. There were some aspects of drawer boxes I hadn't considered before. I think about drawer boxes every now and then, but so far the shipping cost and his own laziness has gotten in the way. Yeah, the shipping cost, if you order them directly from the company, like I do, I know you can get them in comic book shops. At least that's where I started buying them. After I told the comic book shop owner that I used to go to about them, they started getting them. I take credit for that. For anybody listening to this who happens to be a comic book shop customer from the Spokane store, that was me. I don't know if it was, but all I know is I started talking to them about ordering them so I could buy them from the shop, and then several months later they started getting them. But I don't go to that store hardly anymore, just because of time and cost and stuff. So I have been ordering the drawer boxes directly from the manufacturer, and you have to order them in at least units of 5. And they take up it's a big box, and it's kind of heavy. And so the shipping price is perhaps a little prohibitive for some people. Anyway, if you want, go check out those 2 videos. Don't know if I have any comments about the other one I did. Yes, I do. Okay, so that's coming up. So I'll skip that. Johnny DaCosta, DC Comics, said, "Great video. My shop guy has ordered some for me. I can't wait for them to come in." Hey, Johnny, did you finally get them? If you're listening to this, did you finally get them? And what do you think? Let me know, okay? And finally on this, I guess there was some, I think I said something in the video about the box locks, the option where you get these little plastic things that connect the sleeves of your drawer boxes so that they're anchored together and one doesn't move relative to the others, which is really good for things that are on the top shelf, your top shelf of your drawer box stacking. And so Travis said that he uses the box locks, and he has them mixed in among all of his boxes for extra stability. So that's exactly what those are for. And Sean. Sean is I believe a longtime listener. Anyway, he's made some comments to me. He sent me a nice email when I asked for feedback questions for episode 100, and he also noted here that or said thanks for showing these off, the drawer boxes. Just this past year, I've been looking into converting over my current collection into drawer boxes. I've only seen them on the website. Also good to know about the cost, about the shipping. Yikes, he says, but at least I know I can get a discount on larger orders, which is true. So instead of chipping away at my collection, I might have to get a gross of boxes for the discount. Thanks for taking the time to show them off, though. Have fun with the conversion. And what he's talking about is not just me moving everything over to drawer boxes, because I did that a while ago, but I'm in the process of rebagging and boarding all of my books. Some of the bags that I have my comics in are from the 80s, and they're looking a little not so good. So I've been slowly working on that, and because of that, I need more boxes, and therefore I've ordered a couple of sets of 5 from the DuraBox company, and I've used them all up now, so I need to order another set. Okay, moving on. Episode 102, which was my conversation with Damien, another conversation, not about Danger Club this time, but about DC Rebirth. So it was shortly after DC Rebirth came out. So I think it was, I went to visit Damien in Portland. So he could show me around all the great comic shops that he has access to in the Portland area. And we had a lovely time and a great conversation about comics. And so at that time, like I said, it was only a month or 2-ish after DC Rebirth. I think maybe my brain is mixing up some timeline stuff. Anyway. So we talked about some of the DC Rebirth stuff. And so I got a comment from Mercy's Little Show, also another YouTuber. She has some really cool videos. You should check those out. I totally understand what Damien was saying about the books being decompressed, but I actually love that. When I get too many books that are really wordy, it just gets to be too much. It seems like people are just trying to fill the space with words, and they're describing things that are on the picture, or they're explaining things that already just happened. And God, I hate that too. But with Wonder Woman, say, it's the only Rebirth title I've read so far. I'm loving that I can sit back and read the book and get this great story without being dragged down because one page has to explain everything to me. But I also know that I'm in the minority with that, and most people might feel ripped off by such a quick read. To which I responded to her then, I don't mind decompressed stories as long as the payoff is good in the end and the art and words are enjoyable along the way. I can forgive a lot for that, which is true, and maybe I forgive too much in a lot of cases, because I just try to enjoy. For any comic I read, I just try to enjoy it on a surface level. And then if there's more to it than that, that's just icing on the cake to me. Travis said, Superman and its wrinkle is the best thing about the Rebirth, guys. This Superman not being their Superman is the good stuff, which I totally agree. I in that episode, I talked with Damien about Superman and my love of the New 52 version of Superman. And now we have, now it's a totally different thing. Go listen to my Superman Reborn episode, which was just a few episodes ago. As of this particular one, I can never remember the numbers. Anyway, where I talk about that, about the confusing, pre-Flashpoint Superman, New 52 Superman, Superman Rebirth Superman, Superman pre-Flashpoint New 52 mashup Superman. Now that we have, it's all weird. And at that time, I said back to Travis, I don't disagree that it has great potential. That's what I'm hoping for. And for a while, I really was digging Superman. Not that I'm not now. It's just after the Superman Reborn thing, it just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of floundering a little bit in my mind. I think a lot of people's minds too. Reader 1717 from YouTube commented, I really enjoyed the show, guys. Great job. The only book I've made a decision as far as chopping block as of then, this is several months ago now, is Batman, the main title, Batman. The rest of the books that I'm reading, I have to say I'm enjoying. Detective Comics, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, and I'm giving Titans a go, but it's not on my pull. That's an interesting thing. I'm going to come back to that. I'm still optimistic about the positive direction that these books have the possibility of moving forward in, as did I, and I still, to some degree, I still do. I agree with your points on Detective Comics in terms of treatment of each character and then them as a team. To be honest, I am reading it mainly because I want a Batwoman fix. Of course, now we have a Batwoman title. And I'm hoping that this book will be an enjoyable read for me as the year progresses. After saying that, if it starts to falter, I will drop it. I am not going to do what I did with the New 52 and stay till the bitter end. Yeah, I tell you what, the New 52 was an eye-opener for me as well in terms of being able to let go of a title. I learned the hard way on that one too. I stayed on too long on so many titles. And with Rebirth, I have been a lot freer in my letting go. So I even just recently decided that, at the time of this recording, I recently decided that despite my love of Dick Grayson and Nightwing, that I was going to let that one go away for a while. And the New 52 helped me get to that point. So one thing that Reader 1717 said about giving Titans a go, but it being the title not being on the pull list. So that's interesting to me because I guess in the way that I order comics, because I get them through DCBS, which means I am pretty much locked in for 3 months worth of a book until I can even read the first issue. 2 or 3, depends on how the ordering goes and when the comic actually comes out. But usually it's about 3 issues. And then I read the first issue, and then it's rare that I go off the first issue and go, nope, this is not for me, and I'm done, and I'm only in for 3 issues. But I even with that, I consider the book on my pull. I mean, technically it is because they're pulling the book and shipping it to me. Now, granted, I know it's different when you have a shop and you can just go in and grab stuff. But I guess I've always been afraid of missing out on an issue. So once I discover a book that I like, or at least think I like, or potentially know I could like it, I've always told the shops that I've gone to add that to my list. So that's interesting. I'm really curious how people do that. Do you if you go to a shop or you order your comics online like I do, how do you decide what is on your pull list and what isn't, and why? If you guys have any thoughts about that, I'd like to hear them. Damien responded to that comment. I can see cutting Batman, though I personally am comfortable giving it a long leash. I can really understand the Batwoman love, definitely a draw. I can easily see myself trying to catch up on Detective as I listen to other people. To which I say, Damien, did you? I can't remember. I think you're still reading Detective, if I remember some of your recent videos that I've watched. And then I replied to both of them. I said, it may not have come across in the episode, but I'm optimistic too. I always am about new directions, and that, of course, that's true. I do remember thinking, especially after Reader 1717's comment, that I did come across kind of dour about the rebirth, but I really was enjoying it. Reader 1717 again says, yes, Rebirth has been a mixed bag. And as many videos as one can watch, you will see and hear different opinions, which is cool and very interesting to take in. At the end of the day, as long as we are being entertained, we are doing well, right? Yes. Why not? Okay. There was, here's another video, comments about a video. So there was a tag going around on YouTube, especially with the comic book community, YouTubers, where you were tagged and had to do a video about your favorite Batman sequence, whatever that happened to be. And so Travis tagged me in it, and it took me a long time, but I finally got to it. And I chose a sequence out of Batman and Robin number 18, which was it was the issue where Bruce Wayne Batman reacts to the death of Damian, and it's I believe it's an all silent issue, meaning that there's no dialogue, no talking in it, and it was just a very powerful story. One of my favorites of all time, I think. Anyway, I talked about that sequence, and I think I showed some of the pages as well. My memory's bad, as I have already mentioned. Anyway, so Damien said, this is a great choice, perhaps the best silent superhero comic I have ever read. And Travis adds, such an amazing issue. So we were big fans of that Batman and Robin title for sure. Another video. I swear we're going to talk more about the podcast episodes in just a minute, but I released another drawer box video. This is part 2, and this is more about how the boxes arrived from the drawer box company. I talk about that. And then Mr. Chupacandre, I hope that's how you pronounce that. Long boxes or short boxes, he asks. I use filing cabinets for my comics, but I'm wondering if I should switch to these stackable drawers. Yes, it's my recommendation. I use legal size filing cabinets, and each drawer can do 2 rows, but they are so compact inside that I wonder if I'm doing damage to them. I wonder if I'm just better off with the stackable short boxes, even though it'll be a lot. To which I replied, I know several people who prefer the short drawer boxes, and I was actually thinking of getting some. I think I've decided not to right now, but at that time I was really thinking about it. I know that Damien likes short boxes in general because they're easier to move around, and oh my God, yes they are. Because once you add the comics in the box and then you put the box in the sleeve and then you try to pick that up, it's just heavy. I should weigh those and see how much that is. Let's see here. Oh, and then Damien responded, I suppose the long boxes give you added value of a resistance weight training workout. Yeah, exactly. And Sergeant America responded as well. I like the info you're giving on these. So I plan to do another one. Actually, I'm gonna have to wait now for when I get more drawer boxes. I always plan to do another video, a third video, where I basically show you how to put a drawer box together. There's already at least one good video out there. There's probably a few more that I found, but I thought, that'd be a nice way to cap that trilogy that I planned. All right. Speaking of trilogy, here's an episode 103. It's not really a trilogy, just, the number. This is my Marvel Now episode where I caught up on or just discussed all of the Marvel titles I was reading at that time. And I have, let's see here, I have an email from Tony. Pardon my my paper shuffling. This is from Tony, who sent me an email because the Twitter message he said wasn't going through. Anyway, My feelings on the direction of Marvel these last 16 years has been more negative than positive. I don't recognize those characters anymore, which, given what's going on with Marvel Comics at the time of this recording, is even more apropos. DC is my favorite, but it has been hard to like these last few years. New 52 really struck out for him. I'm starting to really get into the Image titles, but depend more on word of mouth on whether I want to get them. Trades are easier to get with Image. I do get Dark Horse in floppies and all the Hellboy verse. So there you go. Thanks, Tony, for that. Sergeant America says, I'm picking up a lot less Marvel books, so it was good to hear your thoughts on these. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad I could provide some sort of service with the show. Damien said, what goes to the top of your reading pile in general? Right now, for me, it's always DC Rebirth books, but that can't last forever. ... Before that, it was usually some indies at the top, then DC, then Marvel, then a few straggling indies. I replied then, of the DC books, it's the Superman titles, and actually still is. Otherwise, Lazarus, Velvet, Black Hammer, and Lady Killer 2 as of then. What's going to the top of my list? Because in the episode Marvel Now, I said, my favorite is the Mighty Thor for Marvel. There's something else that I'm putting to the top of the stack, and I don't remember what it is now. Which, that doesn't sound very good, does it? But Superman still. Oh man, this is gonna bug me. Anyway, I guess I'll move on. I mentioned Mighty Thor. Damien says, I agree with all your Thor comments. What a fun comic. Yes, it is. He also adds, Doctor Strange hasn't quite found its groove at that time. I find particularly in caring much about the character, plus the plot seems a recycling of his God Killer / God Bomb storyline in Thor, which isn't a deal killer, but all the more makes me want other elements of the characters and science versus magic themes to click better. The art is mostly amazing. However, it can also be confusing to look at. Does the art match the humor, I wonder? Yet when / if I drop it, I think I'll miss it. LOL. I thought that of the Doctor Strange title, I thought the art and humor fit pretty well together. I thought it was a nice meshing. The humor was just too much of a disconnect given the weight of the conflict to me, though. It didn't seem proportional, especially considering the character of Doctor Strange. He's never been shown to be a funny guy. And that was definitely a take they were going with in that title at that time. But I wanted to point out something that Damien said, how that first storyline in Doctor Strange was a recycling of the God Killer, God Bomb storyline in Thor from Jason Aaron. And, I had not even considered that at all until Damien made that comment. And as soon as he said it, it was like, oh my God, that's the most obvious thing. How did I miss it? But regardless, I still enjoyed those, I guess, repetitive aspects. Or maybe that's why I enjoyed Doctor Strange as much as I did, because subconsciously, I was experiencing some sort of deja vu, didn't realize it. Maybe. Anyway, I just thought it was a really cool observation that Damien made. Back to the art, Damien replied to me, I struggle with the art even as I enjoy looking at it. Hard to put my finger on the problem. I think I agree with humor versus the main thrust of the story, which is as grim and dire as you can imagine. Yeah. So Damien, if you're still reading Doctor Strange, what do you think now? Moving on to episode 104. This was my Rose City Comic-Con episode. And Sergeant America said, great discussion. Wish you could get... Oh, this is the one where I met up with Damien again, and also Matt, who's another YouTuber. And he and I did an examination of Mage, the Hero Discovered story some months back. Anyway, you should go check that out. I thought it was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed talking with Matt. But anyway, Matt was at Rose City Comic-Con with me and Damien, and after I think it was Saturday night, we got together at a local watering hole in Portland, and as we sat there talking about Rose City and having some delicious fries and great beer, we talked about some comics and stuff. So anyway, Sergeant America said, great discussion. Wish you could get a ton of you guys together for beers and chatting more often. Hear, hear. Say I. Sounded like a blast. It totally was. I would love to do that again. I'm hoping, because I do plan to go to Rose City Comic Con, I'm hoping that Damien will be there. And Matt, if you're listening, if you can make it out too, that'd be great. I was really hoping that Travis would be able to make it, but he's already told me that he can't do that, which is a bummer. I'd love to get everybody together and do some more talking and hanging out. Episode 105 was my Legion of Superheroes spotlight that I did with Mr. Peter Rios of the Daily Rios and Comic Geek Speak fame, which was that was a great discussion. That was a lot of fun. I just really enjoyed talking Legion with a fellow Legion fan, such as Peter. And I got a comment from Cash Flag. Love the look at 5 year later Legion era. That was my Legion. I said, I feel like I focused too much on that era, but it's out of love. And I did. I talked a lot about the 5 year later Legion, especially in comparison to some of the newer incarnations of the Legion. And that's mostly because I just simply, I didn't read some of the later incarnations. I now have them in my collection. I just have to read them. Anyway, so like I said, I felt like I focused too much on it, but Cash responded, considering that era doesn't get a lot of attention, I'm fine with what you did. So I appreciate that, Cash. Plus, Cash said, I think there is enough Legion of Superheroes history that you could do a second episode if you wanted. To which Mark from the I'm the Gun podcast responded and said, hear, hear, I'd listen to that. So I think that I need to do that another one. I need to do some more reading. Maybe focus on those later versions of the Legion that I haven't read yet. That's probably the plan, and maybe get Peter back or somebody else to do that. And I wouldn't want to do or. I really want to talk to Peter more about that. Episode 106, which was the October 2016 previews with special guest George Hanna of the George and Tony Entertainment Show. Sergeant America again said, this is what I need today to power through work. I would strongly recommend Flintstones. And at the time I said, given these two recommendations from, I believe, George at the time and then Sergeant, and now other people since then, I may have to pick up the Flintstones trade. And somehow I missed it. I missed the trade coming out, and so that's something I need to order as soon as I can afford to do so, if my order isn't too much. But I plan to get it. Actually, I think right now I'm hoping that DC will put out a large collection for all 12 issues. That wouldn't be an omnibus, would it? What do you, a deluxe edition or something like that? Anyway. So I can get the whole thing all in one chunk. So we'll see. Episode 107, top 5 magic characters that Travis and I did together, which was another one of my very favorite episodes. We just had a lot of fun, mostly because Travis was here in my recording studio, my office in the basement of my house. But we did that. So to start with, let's see, Mark again said, can I have a go at his top 5? Number 5 was Spectre. Number 4 was Tim Hunter with his smiley face. No, that's me. I'm the one smiling. I just thought that was funny. Number 3 was Dr. 13. And for his number 2 and number 1, he's got 1B and 1A. So can't decide between who's number 1 and who's number 2. But Dr. Fate and John Constantine. I thought that was a great list. And I just mentioned Peter a minute ago. Here is his email about this episode. Hi, Eric. Enjoyed the last episode, throwing my list out there. So here's his. Baron Winters from Night Force from DC. Obscure and mysterious figure in the vein of Hellblazer, where you don't really know if he has powers or not, but his aloof presence in his home, which can travel through time, add to his character. That's Night Force is not a comic or concept that I never really got into, but I know that Peter really likes it. Blackbriar Thorn, also from DC, introduced in a DC Comics Presents issue with Superman and the Demon, drawn by Joe Kubert. I remember that. Later showed up in the Jeff Johns JSA run, another obscure character with potential for a rich history. Also a great design. Have we seen Blackbriar Thorn since New 52 or Rebirth? I have no idea. Maybe in the Justice League Dark. I'm vaguely recalling that. From Marvel, he has Enchantress. I like both the DC and Marvel version, but the Marvel version wins out. From Secret Wars to Simonson Thor, always a fun character that isn't all good or bad. Wish more was done with her. Also from Marvel, Magic. She's feisty, powerful, surprisingly more level-headed than most X-Men. Yeah, and has a twisted origin. She should have a higher place in Marvel's Magic pantheon. I agree with that totally. And of course, I think this is Peter's number one, even though he doesn't number these in any way. But I know Peter, and I know of his love of Amethyst from DC. No brainer. One of the earliest Magic characters that I read, especially from her first appearance. Such a great concept with a large world of potential characters and stories. Love the Zodiac angle, how it fits in with the DC universe, and her supporting cast. She's my girl, says Peter. Episode 108, which was my spotlight on Nightwing number 9, which was the Nightwing and Superman team-up issue, which I totally dug. W. Wayne, I'm just going to refer to him as Wayne, is a blogger. He has a blog on WordPress. It's written in Italian, but Wayne focuses on I believe movies. I'm not sure if they're Italian movies now. I'm forgetting now. Anyway, I will have a link to Wayne's blog in the show notes. Here I am once again, he says. When DC launched the New 52 line, I was enthusiastic about it because 3 characters I deeply loved had a solo series, Nightwing, Blue Beetle, and Grifter. But all good things must come to an end. Blue Beetle and Grifter lasted only 16 issues, and shortly later, Nightwing became the incredibly awful series named Grayson. Oh, that's too bad you didn't like Grayson, Wayne. These decisions made me feel more and more distant from DC. I was still buying some of their comics, but I wasn't enthusiastic about them anymore. And then DC launched the Rebirth operation. Blue Beetle and Nightwing came back, and Grifter will star in the Wildstorm series that has already debuted. DC dusted off all my favorite characters, and I really couldn't ask for more. I was surprised by the high quality of Nightwing because I had already read a comic book written by Steve Orlando, Midnighter, and I dropped it from my pull list after 3 issues because it was painfully bad. Luckily, this writer is doing a much better work on Dick Grayson's solo series. As for Blue Beetle, I am puzzled. I read issues number 1 and 2, and both of them contain some good pages and some terribly boring ones. It's a good comic book, but it's not a pleasant read from the first to the last page. I hope it will improve in the future. So Wayne, you have to let me know if you think it has. Of course, Nightwing and Blue Beetle are not the only DC series I'm reading. I'm also a regular reader of Green Arrow, and I think this series is one of the brightest gems of the DC line. Well, I know my good friend Travis would like to hear that. Even though I'm pretty sure he's dropped Green Arrow since, but Green Arrow was always, it's like I think that's his favorite character overall. I responded to Wayne and said I was sorry that he didn't care for Grayson, because if you've listened to this podcast ever since Grayson came out, I loved it. In fact, I put if you look at my Instagram timeline, you will see a picture of, out of previews, which I do once a month. I just take pictures of things that interest me in previews and put them on Instagram. And they're in the latest previews, which is the May previews of 2017. They solicit the omnibus of Grayson, and so now I have to decide if I want to spend the $25 or $30 that it will cost me to have the entire Grayson collection in one bound version, even though I have all the issues. So anyway, okay. One of the things I said, I mentioned something about the problem I have with reading comics and doing the podcast and doing more stuff on the blog, which I used to do more things. Now I don't. The problem, of course, is always time. To which Wayne responded, I see perfectly what you mean when you talk about lack of time. I barely find the time to update my blog once a month. It's W Wayne, as in, or it's WWAYNE.wordpress.com. He says it's not just a matter of time, but also a matter of inspiration. It's become more difficult more recently at that time for him to write something interesting to write each month. And boy, do I understand that problem. He says, it's always a pleasure to talk about comics with me. And thanks, Wayne. I really appreciate that. And I've always enjoyed our conversations over at the blog. Later, he wrote, speaking of DC, I was astonished by the extremely high quality of Nightwing number 15. I think that this wonderful issue can easily find a spot in the list of the 20 best comics I've ever read. Wow, I think that's pretty high praise. I responded, of course, I read issue 15 and really enjoyed it, though I still prefer number 9. I said then, I think, however, that Sean will be in Dick's life for all too short a time, but we shall see. And I believe at the time of this recording, I just read the last issue of Nightwing that I'm getting, which I think was issue 20. I don't remember now. It's not nearby where I can check. But anyway, the end of the where Deathwing shows up and oh man, can't remember the villain's name of the piece, the main villain. Oh man, this sucks. I hate that I can't remember these things. But anyway, it looks to me like Sean is being written out of the book, which I fully expected to begin with. I was kind of hoping I'd be pleasantly surprised by her sticking around. But anyway, I don't know because I dropped the book. So I guess I'll have to find out from Wayne or somebody else. Episode 109, Going Boldly, my 50 years of Star Trek retrospective. That was a long show, but something I wanted to do for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek last year. Mercy's Little Show said, I listened to this off and on all day. I really enjoyed it. I'm new to Star Trek, but I'm a huge fan. The new movies are what got me interested, and then I watched the original series and I'm watching through slowly The Next Generation. The only comics I've read are the Green Lantern crossovers. Those are fun, which I agree, but I would really love to check out some of the other stuff. And James again said, love the episode. Shame Voyager was so low on your list. And James, if you're listening, because of your comment, I have been re-examining my dislike. No, that's too strong of a word. Apathy about Voyager. So I plan to start rewatching Voyager and try to watch all the episodes. I've seen, like I said in the episode, I've seen several of them over the years. I just haven't watched all of them in order like I have all of the other Star Trek series. Anyway, episode 110, my top 5 indie comics that I did with Damien. Sergeant America said, I read mainly the big 2, so it was nice to hear about all of these, which good, because that's in part why I wanted to do that particular episode. Also just an excuse to talk with Damien, and also talk about my favorite indie comics. Damien told him that you should try the books on our lists from the library, because I know that Damien has access to a library system where he can check out things digitally, I should say. Electronically, man, I just dated myself, didn't I? I don't really have that option in the library through the library that I can go to, which is a bummer. They have a few things, but nothing I really want to read. And I know other library systems have a much better selection of digital comics. Anyway, James again said, bravo and good call for what was my number one choice, which of course was Lazarus. The next thing I have here is I did a very quick, not an episode. It was just an announcement, I guess, about the listener poll that I was conducting. And if you are listening to this and you participated in the poll, thank you very much. I got some really interesting feedback from that. Not the least of which was Damien saying his suggestion: more podcasts from brew pubs near convention centers. So, call back to the Rose City Comic Con episode. But since I'm talking about the poll, which I had at longboxreview.com/poll, and it's still there as of this recording. It may not be there later as you're listening to this. Anyway, so I asked people to give me to vote on these categories here. Asking, which things of these would you prefer that I do more of, I guess, or at least, what are the things that you like of this list, so that maybe I would tailor more episodes in that direction, just so I can, do something a little different than what I am used to doing, and also give the listeners, more of what they would like. So I'm going to go here. This is these are the results as of May 2017. Regular previews episodes got 10% of the votes. Doing more episodes about featuring comics news, and I used to do that on I won't say regular basis. I do it every once in a while. My breaking late news episodes, but I haven't done those in a long time. 12% of the voters chose that, as well as 12% chose the category of having more guest hosts on the podcast, which I always enjoy. It's always a lot of fun to talk with someone else and not just me shouting into the microphone. And then next, 14% said or voted for regular discussion of current comics I'm reading, which is something I struggle with because I don't know. I run the risk if I do regular comics reviews, I think I'm going to start to sound like a broken record a lot. So I don't want to do that, definitely. So if I can figure out a good way to do it, I might do that. And besides, there's so many comic book podcasts out there that do this very thing. And so, go listen to them. They do it. They probably will do a much better job at it than I would. So we'll see. Anyway, a big jump here. 24% of the voters want me to do spotlights of specific titles, which that's kind of what I like to do a lot. And I'm thinking of the Danger Club. What are some other ones I've done? Well, the specific issue ones like Nightwing. I've done a couple Nightwings. I just released episode 117, which was talking about some trades. Anyway, but I really like to focus on one particular title or issue or issues, and really dive in deep and see what I can discover about the book, about the story. And then finally, the largest number of votes, 27%, voted for a mix of current comics / spotlights. So I will need to, like I said, I need to figure out how I want to do the current comic stuff. Anyway, so that was a big vote getter. And then besides Damien's single comment about more brewpub conversations, I did get one comment vote that was shows do episodes that focus on classic creator runs / classic story arcs, which is actually something I have been contemplating doing. So it was really nice to get that feedback that somebody out there wants that. I've kind of dallied with it, not really, but the Legion, Spotlight, I've always planned to do exactly this thing. I'm thinking of New Teen Titans. I've done I think I did a New Teen Titans Spotlight. Right? Did I do that? Or was I just thinking, boy, this is bad. This is really bad when I don't remember anything about my own show, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to do that too, for sure. Okay, moving on. Almost done here. Episode 113, Favorites of 2016, Part 1. Damien said, a podcast that is less than 3 hours long. And a big smiley face or winky face, to which Damien is referring to the fact that episodes 105 and 106 were 3+ hours. And like I said, episode 100 was over 4 hours. So episode 114, which is part 2 of my favorites, Sergeant America says Sugar and Spike, because I talk about that, was one of my very favorite. I think it was was it the surprise sleeper hit? Whatever category it was, I arbitrarily chose for that comic. Sugar and Spike was a surprise hit for me too, since I was picking up the book for Metal Men, and the book he's referring to is the Legends of Tomorrow miniseries that had, was it 3 or 4 4 stories going on at the same time in the 4 stories in the book, and then for the 6 issues you get the complete story for each one of those. And Sugar and Spike was the best one in the bunch. Go get the trade for sure of Sugar and Spike. Damien said the ascendancy of Sugar and Spike is one of the big stories here. I need to hunt that down. Damien, did you get it? Damien also said, super awesome 2-part show. I just picked up a stray copy of Old Guard #1 because of you. Well, I hope you weren't disappointed. And he said, if I don't like it, I'll berate you for years. Again, winky smile. So, and he also says, of my comment about Matt Wilson having been robbed of the Best Colorist Award in the Comic Geek Speak Best of Award show. It's a mouthful. To explain this one comment, he says, agreed on Wilson. Any comic colored by him is worth checking out. Here, Damien. Okay, Superman Reborn, episode 115. A new commenter, Tevya Smolka. I love Superman Reborn. It was an amazing read, and in fact, I can't wait to see what happens next. Of course, I was totally into the whole Superman Reborn, that 4-issue crossover between Superman and Action Comics. I loved it. The aftermath has been a little, like I said, a little unsteady. So we'll see. I'm waiting to get over that hump when they get over the fact of trying to explain the result of Superman Reborn. In terms of how things were kind of mushed together. So we'll see. I'm sure it will. The ship will right itself. And then Sergeant America said, I am clearing my calendar for tonight. Later he said it was good to get caught up this way. I didn't buy those issues, and it sounds like I would have stayed on the title, I guess. Yeah, Sergeant, are you reading? Are you back on Superman? Are you reading it? And Damien said, listened on my commute today. Love this episode. Thank you. Appreciate that. Episode 116, my wonderful, fantastic, and I'm saying this not because of what I did, but because I had so much fun talking with Greg Schiegel, the creator of Pix, cartoonist on the SpongeBob comics. Another great episode because I just loved the conversation I had with my guest. Anyway, this is an email I got from Christopher, who does the Creator Talks podcast. So go to creatortalks.com for that. He says, hi, Eric. Great interview with Greg on the podcast. I always like listening to creator interviews, especially those whose work I'm not familiar with and should be. I do a podcast that focuses just on creator interviews, as you might have guessed from the show title. Please give it a listen when you have time, which I am doing so. Feedback from a pro like yourself is always welcome. Well, Christopher, thank you. I think your praise is highly misplaced. I am not a pro, but I appreciate the sentiment. P.S. He says, I think I recall you asking a question at the Comic Geek Speak 10th anniversary celebration at Golden Eagle Comics. I was there too. Good times, he said. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Of course, I was there. It was one of the highlights of my comic book podcasting career. Just that I got to be a part of that celebration. I'm a huge fan of Comic Geek Speak and all the guys there. I did ask a question. It was a lame question. It was a totally lame question, but they were nice about it. It's too bad, Christopher, if you're listening. I wish we could have met. I feel like that was a wasted opportunity. So anyway, maybe someday we'll get to talk. Okay. And finally, on the episode side, episode 117, Trade in Value, which was the episode before this one, Damien said, I've read all of Wayward from Sales on Comixology. It seems to go on sale frequently. And he also said, I have the fix issues, but never read them. Need to dig them up. And so in case you didn't listen to episode 117, I recommend you go listen to it to get the full context. But Wayward was actually a comic, a digital trade is what I'm trying to say, a digital trade that I bought on sale. Some of the image trades were on sale from Comixology. And so I got that on the recommendation of Damien. And I really enjoyed that. The fix, which he had referred to, is another trade that I got on sale that Travis had recommended. And I totally dug that one. So anyway, there's that feedback. And finally, iTunes reviews. Or Apple Podcast reviews, if you go by what some podcasters are now saying instead of iTunes. Okay, this is from, it says by We Missed You, but I believe this is George. You must listen to Longbox Review. There are a lot of comic book related podcasts out there, but Eric of Longbox Review single-handedly, with the aid of periodic guests here and there, provides insightful and thoughtful commentary on the world of comics in a unique way. It's as if you are sitting across from him at a table having lunch during a comic/pop culture convention. If you are even remotely interested in the world of sequential art, you must make Longbox Review part of your podcast listening regimen. That is so cool. I am flattered and honored to get such high praise. That was really touching. Thank you so much. And finally, I got a review here from George Corey, who is the author of, well, among other titles, but his most recent book from Tomorrow's, I believe, Comic Book Fever, which is a celebration. What does it say here? A celebration of comics 1976 to 1986. This is, if you are a comic book fan and you don't have a copy of George's Comic Book Fever book, you need to go get it. It's a delight. It's fun. It's a fun read. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not, academic. It's one fan's recollections and celebration of the comic book medium during that period of time. And that is the time pretty much with a couple of years at the beginning there where I missed out on, that's my golden age of comics. So that book is just so much fun. It's such a delight for me to read. I will. It's on my bed, on my nightstand next to my bed, and when I have extra time before I, if I'm not ready to go to sleep, I will pick that up and I'll read a few entries. And it's just absorbing George's work that way has just been so much fun and enjoyable. So anyway, but George wrote a review, which I thought was fantastic as well. Longbox Review is an insightful podcast into the world of comics. If you're looking for someone who actually talks about comic books, then let Eric and his podcast be your guide. I told George this on Twitter. I said thank you, but George, again, thank you so much for that. I'm honored that you took the time to do that. And quite frankly, I'm honored that all of the people whose comments I've read to you on this episode took the time and made those comments. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at the moment about it. I know I'm seriously. I'm very appreciative, and any feedback is so good to get, and I appreciate each and every word that is sent my way. The fact that people actually listen to the podcast or watch the videos, and then on top of that, provide a few words about stuff, I totally dig. I think it's so cool, and I love you guys for it. So thank you so much. And of course, it would not be a Longbox Review episode if I didn't say, if you have any comments about the episode, please send me those comments, whether it's through email at longboxreview@gmail.com, or if you're watching the videos on YouTube, you can leave comments below where this is posted. You can always leave comments at longboxreview.com where everything is posted. Anytime I post a video or a podcast episode or happen to write a blog post, you can always leave comments at each of those entries as well. Or if you just want to do a real quick thing, a real quick comment to me, Twitter's always the best way to do that too. So you can follow me at Longbox Review. There's also the Facebook page. Where else? Tumblr, Instagram. I think I'm forgetting something. Anyway, go to longboxreview.com, and you can find all the various ways you can contact me. I even have a voicemail. I rarely get anything on it, but it's there. Anyway, that's it. For this episode. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. I'm repeating myself, but I appreciate it so much. Thank you.